The Burma of Rudyard Kipling, if it ever really existed, has long since passed into history. But for the first British camera team to visit the country in over 10 years, starting their journey to Mandalay, here in the streets of the capital, Rangoon, there are still obvious reminders of the years of British domination, which began here in the south in the 1820s and lasted till after the Second World War, in which Burma and the Burma Campaign featured so prominently. But the British themselves have all gone, and with them the society they brought. Burma is now an independent, non-aligned socialist state. This is the national shrine, the tomb of the heroes of the liberation movement, members of the cabinet assassinated in 1947. But since independence the following year, Burma has been evolving slowly behind closed frontiers to a place in the modern world. There is modernization, like this Russian-built hotel. But it could be anywhere. And what is really interesting about Burma, and what most strikes the foreigner, is the past, pre-independence, pre-British rule, and the way in which it is still very much a part of present-day life. Burma is a Buddhist country, and the great Shui Dagon Pagoda in Rangoon is one of the holiest places in the Buddhist world. The huge platform on which it is built is never without pilgrims. The great dome, higher than St. Paul's Cathedral, covered with gold, the summit of solid gold and precious stones. On every side are shrines covered with gold leaf. Over a ton of flowers are offered every day. For the Buddhist, religious observance is a means of gaining merit in the world, whether it's by washing images or by striking one of the innumerable bells whose sound calls attention to one's own merit and shares it with others. This journey could only take in a small part of the country along the east and west banks of the river on the way north to Mandalay. There are relatively few large towns in Burma. The countryside is a collection of small villages. Life in these villages is simple and perhaps primitive, and doesn't seem to have changed much over the centuries. The houses are built of bamboo and thatch and raised on piles driven into the ground well clear of the monsoon rains. In spite of their sharp-looking horns, these water buffaloes are extremely docile. The rice crop had been harvested when this journey was made, but the rice had still to be sifted and dehusked. Unlike many countries in the East, there is no great shortage of food in most areas. The great famines of India are virtually unknown. Food is a main topic of conversation. Everyone is interested in cooking, and they're pretty contemptuous of others in this respect, especially of the British. Gongs mounted on what looks very like an old bedstead. Traditional music of the Shan state in eastern Burma. The Shan state is on the border with China, and the people speak almost the same language as the Siamese. The costumes of these folk dancers certainly seems to belong as much to Siam as to Burma. The film team made a special excursion off the road to Mandalay to the Shan state to see one of the most celebrated sights of Burma, Lake Inle, with its leg rowers and floating islands. This lake, 12 miles long, is a hollow in the centre of a high plateau. All the buildings, including this huge pagoda, are constructed on piles driven into the bed of the lake. But some of the gardens float on the surface of the water, until, added to each year with compost and other vegetation, they eventually become so thick that they can be anchored to the bottom with stakes, and ultimately become real islands. Pagodas, temples and shrines are all built on the lake, and there's a sizable population who cultivate their water gardens and catch fish.